Hello and welcome back to another another video. Today we are talking about Tropical Storm Elsa once again. So if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Now let's get right on into it. So currently Tropical Storm Elsa has intensified just a little bit with maximum sustained winds of 50 miles an hour, minimum central pressure of 1,003 millibars, and moving west-northwest at 26 miles an hour. So, we have gotten a little bit more information over the last 24 hours about this storm, and as of now, the cone is showing a lot. So, I'm going to go over all of this very quickly, then we're going to move over to current storm information. Starting off here with just the most generic part of this, these points are all spread out a lot. This storm is moving very quickly, which means that if this storm moves over certain smaller areas of land, which it's going into the Caribbean, which is where a lot of smaller pieces of land are, it won't be losing that much strength since it's moving over smaller pieces of land at very fast speeds. So, we have the Leeward Islands, which currently have tropical storm watches and warnings. Those normally don't take off much wind speed from any tropical system. Then, this storm is going to split the gap between Hispaniola and Jamaica. Now, I don't believe that that will take off much speed either in terms of winds. Then, it'll move over Cuba, which is still moving pretty fast, which means that Cuba might not even knock off that much wind speed like it did for Hurricane Irma in 2017 when the storm was moving so slowly that moving by the northern part of Cuba downgraded the storm from a Category 5 to a Category 4. In this case, we have a faster moving storm system that's going to be going right over Cuba, which means that it will probably take off maybe 5 miles an hour from the storm. Then it proceeds to go into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, an area that really hasn't had a lot of tropical activity throughout the year so far, and impact the western Floridian coastline, which is a horrible scenario since the storm can still feed off of the Gulf of Mexico, which is typically where we see a lot of intensification, and still not make landfall. So Florida doesn't only have to deal with wherever this storm makes landfall, but it also has to deal with the wind field of this storm riding up the entire Florida coast, and depending on how large that wind extent is, it could cover the entire state of Florida with tropical storm force winds, especially if this intensifies to the point where it becomes a hurricane, which we're going to get into right now in current storm information. Here is the intensity guidance. So right now we're seeing a weaker tropical storm, 45-50 miles an hour. Now this is expected to intensify into a strong tropical storm and maybe even into a Category 1 hurricane, taking into the account where most of these models project this storm. But we also have some outliers here which could still totally be plausible scenarios, which includes Category 2, almost Category 3 strength. And depending on how much moisture this intakes, how much energy it intakes, we could totally get to that point. So we have a lot of variables and a huge mixed bag here with this storm, including the track after this initial 3-day period. Here is the global hurricane models that show pretty consistently this storm pretty much splitting the gap between Hispaniola and Jamaica. Then things kind of go all over the place. We have a few models taking it into the Gulf, which, trust me, the Gulf states really don't need to get hit by another tropical storm right now. They've been battered over the last year and a half. Then you have the current scenario by the National Hurricane Center, which is riding right up the West Floridian coastline. Then this storm will either come out into the Atlantic again, which would be horrible since it could drive in more moisture into the U.S. while still being off the coast. Again, land will shrink the extent of the winds, which is a good thing. It will cause friction with the winds, which will lower wind speeds, which is a good thing. So, if we want to see the lowest amount of impact, this thing needs to make landfall, which is another one of the scenarios where this storm is going to stay over land. But it's moving so fast that the rate at which the friction lowers the wind speeds could take a while, even into the northeast, which is what the GFS has it doing. It has it pretty much ending its time period here, even though it could totally be longer than that, right around DC. Then you have the GEPS, which takes this back out into the Atlantic and times out when it's in Massachusetts. So, what do you think is going to happen with this storm? It is a huge talking point right now, and I want to hear what you guys think about it. So comment in the comment section down below. But that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.